Please join me in our gathering song.
Good morning. Welcome to Chalice Unitarian Universalist Congregation. We are a community of diverse beliefs and experiences of something I should know, nurturing the liberal religious spirit and united by our desire to grow in love and in service. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever your life's journey, you are welcome here. Whether you gather with us every Sunday, once or twice a year, or are with us this morning for the very first time, we are glad you are here. I'm Wendy Metzger, the worship associate today. Our pulpit guest this morning is Chaplain Michael Eselun. Our worship musician this morning is John Schultz, and our song leader is Callie Leaf. Our sound and video engineer is Jake Diock. Our greeters are Ann McKernan and Phil Davis. Thanks to everybody whose contributions make today's service possible. Our minister, Reverend Sharon Wiley, will return to the pulpit next Sunday. Welcome to our Sunday worship service. Welcome to those of you who are in the chapel, and welcome to those of you watching live using Zoom. We welcome children in our community. During our Sunday service, our religious education volunteers provide programs for children and youth from kindergarten through high school. Today, the teen group will be looking at a Simpsons episode to examine the ethics of using AI for learning and homework. Our upper elementary kids will be examining the idea of being a superhero. They will have several mediums available to create their own superhero. Meanwhile, our pre-K through grade 3 kids will start a new curriculum, JetPig. Each session will allow our kids to reflect on one of our 6 values. This week, they will focus on interdependence, starting with a hunt for clues inside some plastic eggs. Please talk with our Director of Family Ministries, Kathleen Swift, to learn more about our programs for children and youth. Childcare for our youngest children is always available during the service. Today is Non-Binary Parents' Day. So a very happy wishes to our non-binary parents. Today is also the third Sunday of our annual pledge drive. If you would like to turn in your pledge today and need a pledge form, you can raise your hand and Laura Brown will bring a pledge form to you. For those of us here in the chapel, if you are sitting in a row that's not full, please consider moving toward the walls so we leave room along the aisle for congregants who may be arriving in the next several minutes. Also, as a reminder, please feel free to wear masks or step outside as needed for your comfort. You can hear what is happening inside while you are outside on the courtyard. We are always delighted to see newcomers joining us in worship. As a newcomer, you might be interested in the groups and activities we offer, which can be found in our email newsletter and e-news calendar. Online newcomers will receive an email invitation to join our email list after the service. In-person newcomers, if you haven't already given us your email address when you signed in, please share it before you leave. Our weekly email is the best way to get information about the many groups and activities we offer here at Chalice. Now, let us take a breath together. Into worship, we acknowledge Indigenous peoples with these words from Adrienne Huard, they, them, a two-spirit Indigiqueer Anishinaabe curator, writer, scholar, and performer, and citizen of the Gochaching First Nation. The land dictates everything about our ways of being. Particularly, the land teaches us about fluidity. Binary systems are deeply entrenched in Western colonial beliefs. Binaries exist everywhere we turn, from feminine to versus masculine, right versus wrong, civilized versus savage, heaven versus hell, heterosexual versus homosexual, etc. These models represent two oppositional perspectives, but what happens to the space in between? The concept of liminality illustrates an almost middle ground, a space that sits midway of the binary. Liminality disrupts settler colonial ideologies through a dissolution of linear time, hierarchies, and certainty. Much like the land, there will always be moments of instability and impermanence. Liminality rejects a level of knowing, anticipation, or predictability and replaces it with humility in the unknown. There's strength in not understanding, in questioning, or in remaining unfixed, because the earth, the waters, and the entities that exist on these lands are perpetually in motion and ever-changing. Nothing remains static. Now we light our chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. I'd like to invite Kristen Jordan to light our chalice this morning. Our chalice lighting words come from Kate McGann. It takes love to hold on when you want to let go. It takes love to let go when you want to hold on. We light the chalice today, ever mindful of that place between holding and letting go, a place for which the only word we have is love. We light the flame of love within our hearts and within this community.
Good morning. As a call to worship this morning, I'd like to offer this from Janet Rebhan. I searched among her crayons for a color that represented autumn and pulled out an orange-toned crayon, never used. It read bittersweet, and I wondered why that particular name. Autumn was my favorite time of year. I was always ready for the change. I guess some people didn't see it that way. Some people wanted to cling to summer. I love both seasons, but I thought no one would ever call spring bittersweet, even though it was just another change, another new cycle, an end to one season and the beginning for another in an endless, never-ending spiral.
Our hymn of the month for April. Yes, it's April. As I called on today from our virtual hymnal, and we sing this every Sunday in April so that we can become more familiar with it and more comfortable with it. So please rise and body your spirit to join me. John will play a little intro first. I called on yesterday, but nobody answered. I called on tomorrow, but no one was there. So I called on today, and the door was flung open. There was dancing and singing and joy in the air. So I called on today. I called on today. There was dancing and singing and joy in the air. Yesterday she was my counsel and teacher. My friend tomorrow says do not delay. But the only voice singing the song of your living is the one that is singing the song of today. So I called on today. I called on today. There was reverence and wonder and hope in the air. Moon sings of dreaming of days gone before us. Sunset a lullaby and end of day. But the dawn sings of walking, of building and sharing. The sunrise is singing the song of today. So I called on today. I called on today. There was magic and mystery and love in the air. The ancestors whisper their wisdom and warning. Our children can travel the worlds far away. But the torch is alight with our hope and thanksgiving. So lift up your voice in the song of today. So I called on today. I called on today. There was dancing and singing and joy in the air. Please be seated.
Our Sunday worship is the shared spiritual practice of our community and we tend to the congregation during these times by sharing and honoring our joys and sorrows. Oh.
We're getting better at that hymn. Next Sunday, we're going to have it down, people. So, good morning. I'm Laura Brown. I'm chairperson of the Pledge Drive Task Force, also known as the Pledge Force. And our theme this year is We're Renewing the Well of Love. And I'd like to invite Doug Key up to share some reflections on Chalice.
Well, my journey with Chalice, and my name is Doug Key, and I'm a very long-time friend and more recently an official member of Chalice congregation. So what does Chalice mean for me? Whether as a friend or member, Chalice touches my life in so many ways. This congregation is an essential part of my spiritual connection and growth. My growth is nurtured from inspirational Sunday services, serving on Chalice committees, singing in choir, or participation in No King's Day marches. I've seen so many of you out there on the streets with your homemade signs, and you have been an inspiration to us all. Another important part of the Chalice community is that it feels like home. And we're all family members of that home. Like with any family, we can go out after a service and chat comfortably on any subject under the sun. Given the age of some of us here, that conversation often turns to recent ailments, test results, and surgeries. Even when I leave church, you are all part of my larger family that I know I can call on when I need you. Over my life, it hasn't always been easy for me to have real friends. I would have lots of acquaintances, but few I could call real friends. Here at Chalice, I have real friends. My life would be so much emptier without all of you.
Thank you, Doug. That was really special. So we are 3 weeks into our 4-week Pledge Drive campaign, so just one more week to go, and our goal is to receive 110 pledges and $356,800. So that's our goal. So far, we have received 67 pledges totaling $266,946.09. Woo! So yeah, woohoo! We're getting there. So thank you so much to everyone who has pledged this past week, and every pledge makes a difference, no matter how big or small. Pledges help us plan for our next fiscal year, which is from July 2026 to June 2027. We're excited to be establishing a planned maintenance fund to help mitigate future financial risk. And we want to give our hardworking paid staff cost of living raises, and we also just need to keep up with those expenses that increase every year. So every Sunday during our pledge drive, we ask persons who are making a pledge this morning or who have made a pledge in the prior week to come up and be recognized. The children and youth in our religious education classes spent several weeks decorating hearts for each person who has pledged. So each of you will get a heart. Online folks, if you made your pledge this week and would like us to mail you a heart, just let us know in the chat box and we'll get that to you. So if you're ready to turn in your pledge form this morning, you can come up front now to put it in the pledge basket. And if you've made a pledge in the last week, you're also invited up front to be recognized. And we invite any children to come forward and participate. Julia knows where the heart basket is.
Now we are ready to begin our Sunday worship, shared spiritual practice of our community, and we tend to the congregation during this time by sharing and honoring our joys and sorrows. Here in the chapel, you are welcome to write your joy or sorrow onto a candle card, which will be collected from you. Online, please write your joy or sorrow, including your name, into the chat box. These joys and sorrows will be spoken out loud, and then we will remove this part of the service from the recording that goes onto our YouTube channel, so this sharing won't be publicly available online. If you would like to send Reverend Sharon a confidential note about your joy or sorrow, or to make a prayer request, please email her. Her email address will be on screen in a moment. Please enjoy some music while you write down what you would like to share, so that in the sharing, your burden is lessened and your joy is multiplied.
we share, and from this we live.
We light our first candle of sorrow for all that is broken and hurting in our world. We light a final pillar candle for all the joys and sorrows that go unshared and unspoken this morning. These too are held in the love and support of this community. Now we invite the children and anyone else who would like to come forward for a story.
The In-Between Book by Christopher Willard and Olivia Weiser, art by Allison Oliver. Have you ever noticed that there is a space between everything? There is space between you and other people, between pictures on the wall, between notes in a song. You might think these spaces are empty, but they actually help us see the shape and beauty of everything around us in a whole new way, even in ways that some grown-ups cannot see. This book will show you how to mindfully notice these spaces and become more curious, calm, and creative. Close your eyes. That's a weird thing to do while reading a book. Now focus on your body. Can you find the teeny tiny pause between breathing in and breathing out? Focusing on this space can help you feel more relaxed. If you're reading this book with someone else, rest your head on their chest. If you're reading this book by yourself, put your hand on your own chest. Listen or feel for heartbeats. Are there spaces between them? Trace the space between these flowers with your finger. What shape does it make? Can you trace the space between other objects around you? Between the trees on your street? Between the toys in your room? Stand up and take a few steps around the room. Is there a moment of stillness when one footstep turns into the other? What about the pause between jumping up and coming back down? Now look out the window. What can you see between the clouds? If it's nighttime, what can you see in the space between the stars or the lights in your neighborhood? Slowly sit back down and notice just when your body touches the surface underneath you. Can you feel the moment in between standing and sitting? Now make your body as quiet as possible, maybe even closing your eyes again, and listen to all the sounds around you. What do you hear between the sounds? Is there actually any silence? Tell a joke to a parent or a friend. Do you notice a pause between your joke and their laugh? Can you think of any other in-between spaces? What about the pause between a question and an answer? Try to find that pause as you read one of the questions in this book. If you're thinking about an important question and you stop to listen, does it help you find the answer you're looking for? Turn to the person reading this book with you and give them a hug. Can you feel a space between you? What are the feelings between you? Clap your hands. Focus on the space between claps. Can you find anything hidden in the spaces between these lines? For an extra challenge, what did you feel in the time between looking at this picture for the first time and discovering something hidden within it? As you can see, there are many in-between spaces all around you. As you notice them, you can learn more about yourself and the world. How do you feel different between starting and finishing this book? Now, try to mindfully notice the space between this final sentence and closing the book.
RE classes, we sing together. We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious life. We hold you in our love as you go.
Our pulpit guest this morning, Michael Eselun, serves as the chaplain for the Mann UCLA Center for Integrative Oncology. Two-time TEDx speaker, Michael speaks extensively to healthcare professionals, patient populations, and faith communities across the country. Long serving as adjunct faculty at the Wiesenthal Center Museum of Tolerance, he's also worked as an activist educator addressing anti-LGBTQ bias in the larger community for well over 35 years. In 2019, Michael was inducted into the UCLA Semel Institute Eudaimonia Society in recognition of having lived a meaning-driven life. In early 2025, he was recognized as a champion of care by the Cancer Support Community Los Angeles.
As a reading this morning, I'd like to share this from Wendell Berry. No, no, there is no going back. Less and less, you are that possibility you were. More and more, you have become those lives and deaths that have belonged to you. You have become a sort of grave containing much that was and is no more in time. Beloved then, now, and always. And so you've become a sort of tree standing over the grave. Now, more than ever, you can be generous toward each day that comes young to disappear forever and yet remain unaging in the mind. Every day, you have less and less reason not to give yourself away. A few years back, a dear friend and former colleague at work, Lorelei, was preparing a talk to give to an upcoming oncology social work conference. What are you going to talk about, Lorelei? I asked her. Ecotones, she said. I never heard that word before. What, is that some kind of a retro punk environmental cover band? Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for the Ecotones. No, she went on to explain it's those transitional zones in nature between two adjacent ecosystems or communities that are not either one thing or the other, like a wetland or where a grassland meets a forest or where a river meets the sea. I love that there was a word for these places in nature that fascinate me. She was using it as a metaphor for cancer patients who often find themselves caught between competing realities. I love it as a metaphor for any of us as we move through life's journeys and challenges, crossing boundaries and thresholds into territory that is not exactly one thing or another, despite our need and desire to see it as such. And yet I find it is in those liminal places that perhaps we have greater access to something we might even call truth, or maybe even brush up against the sacred. In the summer of 2005, I took a week-long seminar on Cape Cod with Thomas More, well-known psychologist and author. He's made his life's work a study of the nature of soul. He constructed the seminar in such a way that we only spent half days together because he wanted us to spend the other half of the day out on the Cape, letting it work its magic on us. He didn't have to tell me twice. I fell in love with the place, particularly these marshes and wetlands, ecotones that are neither land nor sea, changing with the shifting of the tide. That love affair continues to this day. Nearly every summer ever since. My husband Scott and I have spent a week in Provincetown, the very tip of Cape Cod, and one of my favorite things to do there is to float effortlessly on the incoming or outgoing tide over the marsh, swallowed up into this magical netherworld. A sunrise or a sunset can be a kind of ecotone too, a time of day that is neither day nor night, neither light nor dark. I love that word evening for its unintended implication, an evening out of day into night. Yet it's in that narrow time frame that we get to experience all those magnificent colors and all those deep, rich shadows. In the spring of 2019, I got to take the most magnificent trip, a 2-week solo journey across southern India, starting in Chennai, ending in Cochin. The penultimate stop on my itinerary was a teeny village called Muthuvankudi, high in the mountains, the Western Ghats they're called, in Kerala. It's tea and spice country, not far from a town called Munnar. I actually stayed 2 nights in the Ecotones Lodge, if you can imagine. 8 Spartan rooms situated in the most stunning landscape imaginable. One night, I was the only guest in the lodge. As soon as I arrived, I immediately booked 2 guided walks with a local guide, Vishak. Vishak was 28 years old, bright, smart, curious, knew everything about every plant, crop, bird, animal. He had a wanderer's heart himself, and he dreamed of faraway places, far from Kerala, but not quite sure he'd even heard of Los Angeles. Our first walk would be that afternoon, a spice and culture walk, he called it. We walked through villages and plantations and jungles and farmland, talking every step of the way, just about everything. It was an enchanted afternoon. We even got caught in an afternoon thunderstorm and took refuge on the porch of one of the houses in the village. I didn't want to get my camera wet. And when the woman of the house saw that I was out on her porch, she immediately brought out a chair for me to sit down and wait out the storm. Like I say, it was an enchanted afternoon. The next morning was a sunrise walk. Vishak told me he'd pick me up at 5:30. I set the alarm for 5 o'clock. Got up and took an ice-cold shower because 10 more minutes of sleep seemed more precious than the slim chances of getting any hot water at the Ecotones Lodge. I got dressed, went outside a little early because my host, Sijo, had promised me a hot cup of tea before the walk. The super full moon was still high in the sky, illuminating the landscape in this silvery glow, casting moon shadows everywhere. The breathing stillness of the morning soothed my spirit, the silence, the coolness of it. Thank goodness Vishak brought a flashlight, because once we got under the canopy of trees, it was so dark you could not see your hand in front of your face. We walked in silence mostly, just the sound of crunching gravel under our feet. But soon birds began to wake up and call to one another, and then there was the call to prayer from a nearby mosque. In a few steps, there was a gong and chanting from a Hindu temple. Once we emerged out from under the canopy of trees back into the moonlight, we didn't need the flashlight any longer. Vishak took a hard left turn up a steep path. This way, Michael. We scrambled up over rocks and boulders until we landed on this enormous plinth, this slab of granite high on a precipice with this stunning view of the valley and the mountains around it. We will wait here for the sun, he said. Okay? It was more than okay. Emily Dickinson once wrote, "I'll tell you how the sun rose, one ribbon at a time." Wasn't like that for me that morning. I was transfixed by the mountains surrounding, all enshrouded with clouds, creating another kind of ecotone in the moonlight. You couldn't tell where the land ended and the sky began. But then this renegade appendage of cloud swirls up in the sky, its edges catching the hidden sunlight, and it looked like a fire-breathing dragon for a moment and just as quickly vanished. And then the sun shone itself and announced the beginning of a brand new day. We sat there for maybe 45 minutes or so, just looking. Soon there was more singing, men's voices this time in Latin from the Catholic Church down in the valley beneath us. And when they stopped singing, women's voices began to sing. And then the two blended in this beautiful harmony. It was a moment of exquisite perfection. Everybody needs this every once in a while, Vishak said. Yes, they do. Vishak, does this ever get old to you? Is this just another day at work for you? No, I like this. It's never quite the same. I felt the oddest combo platter of feelings in that moment. Of course, I was profoundly grateful to be able to be here and witness this, but I also felt this urgent need to imprint my memory and my heart with every sight, smell, sound, color, wanting to never forget it. Acutely aware that I will never pass this way again. And that's true of every moment in which we live, isn't it? But somehow it seemed more true on that rock. And as one who is essentially greedy, always wanting more, I found myself thinking, gosh, how many more trips like this can I have? Even with the best of luck, the years left to me are fewer than the years I've had most of the clothes in my closet. So there was some sadness, but also longing too. I wanted everybody I loved to be with me on that rock in that moment, particularly my mom. But don't get me wrong. The essential feeling was gratitude and enoughness. This moment is enough. This journey is enough. This lifetime is enough. Vishak, do you know what that word Ecotones means, the name of the lodge where I'm staying? Yes, I think it means like eco-friendly, no? No, it actually means a place in nature where two adjacent ecosystems meet. That is neither one or the other. Like where a river meets a sea, or a marsh or wetland, or where your life, as different as it is from mine, we are meeting here now on this rock. Yes, he said. I wasn't entirely sure he understood the depth of my meaning, but I knew I was experiencing something akin to Holy Communion. It was a sacred moment. Living with cancer can definitely be a kind of ecotone. Countless patients I've walked beside over the years struggle with how to hold their life going forward. How do I make choices? Do I live as if today is my last day, or do I live as if I have all the time in the world? What if it's neither? What if it's both? And if I have to live as if today is my last day, how do I live with that kind of pressure, having to make every moment so profound and make it count? I can't deal with that. Wouldn't that rob me of everyday pleasures? Wouldn't that rob me of the luxury of wasting time? The process of dying can be a kind of ecotone too, as anyone can attest who's walked beside a loved one through their dying process, a process that can take years. As you watch someone slip away by inches and feet, leaving you to wonder how much of the person we knew and loved is even still there. Such was the case with my mom over the last few years of her life, as dementia enshrouded her sense of clarity, even her sense of self, in a kind of fog, only clearing every now and then to give us a glimpse of the mom we knew and remembered, only to be swallowed up again, until a recurrence of lung cancer and COPD showed her to the final exit. I saw her for the last time on March 30th, 2019, not long after I got back from India. And she would die 8 days later, on April 7th. A year earlier, Mother's Day, 2018, my husband Scott and I went up to see her for the weekend. She lived in Morro Bay, the Central Coast. Just to get her out of the house, we took her into San Luis Obispo, took her out to lunch, walked around the town a little bit, and then we just parked it on a bench there in the main plaza in front of the mission. It was exasperating to listen to the same closed loop tape of disappointments and anger and resentment and regret, stories I'd heard 10,000 times. But still, it was a beautiful day. Seemed nice enough place to just sit here on this bench and have this conversation, if you will, rather than sit for endless hours in her mobile home in front of HGTV. But just then, this idea dropped into my head from someplace else altogether. 16 years earlier, after she had survived lung cancer treatment, I took a couple days off of work to go see her with the express purpose of interviewing her exhaustively on videotape about her life. In those 2 days, I made 6 hours of videotape. I never watched the interview, I never listened to the interview, but somehow on that bench it occurred to me, Mom, you maybe want to go back home and watch that interview that we did 16 years ago? She, of course, had no recollection that we even did it or that it was there, but she was game. Sure, honey, that sounds like fun. Let's do that. My intention was twofold. I wondered what kind of gift might there be for my mom to give her her own story back to herself. Might that even be a kind of magic? And selfishly, I was hoping to reconnect with that version of my mom that I so dimly remembered, and that's not accurate. Of course, I remember her. I just couldn't connect that version of my mom with this angry, disappointed, addled woman in front of me. So that's what we did. Over that afternoon and evening, we got through 4 hours of the tape in 2 sittings. At first, my mom was thoroughly confused. Now, where was this done and why did we do it? Asking only inches away from where the camcorder had been set up. Look, Mom, it's your same chair. See, there's your front door. That's the same doorknob. But she was transfixed with the woman on the screen. This is so weird, honey. I know that's me up there, and I remember these stories when she tells them, but it doesn't seem like me. She's so professional-like. I know. I was shocked too, but this is fun, honey. Thanks for doing it. The hour grew late. She was tired, so we all went to bed. Next morning, she had no recollection that we watched the tape or that it existed. A month later, we went to see her again, and we'd watched the last 2 hours of tape. For a whole host of reasons, this would be a far more emotionally intense experience. For one thing, my husband, Scott, who 2 years earlier had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, was over there out of my mom's eyesight crying in the corner. I don't want that to be me. And now it is. I had long forgotten that my mom's late beloved Glenn had made a surprise interruption appearance in our interview. Oh, there's my Glennie. Hi, honey. My mom howled. I miss you. I love you. It was so good to see his smiling face. I did remember that my mom had closed the interview with this very tearful valedictory to each of her 3 kids, wanting us to remember above all else how much she loved us. The next morning, to my shock and amazement, she remembered everything. Wasn't that something last night? She said, I just can't get over it. And you know what, honey? It makes me feel like it's not so bad to be this old because I just don't care anymore. Everything that mattered so much just doesn't matter, so I feel free. Thank you, honey. The tide had brought my mom back to me for a moment, and we could float around in that ecotone before she drifted off. That February, before I went to India, my sister Terry threw my mom the most amazing 90th birthday party. Friends and family from far and wide came. As my sister was walking my mom into the community room at her mobile home park, she said, I'm looking forward to saying goodbye to everybody. Not long after the party, she declined pretty sharply. After a few days in the hospital, she was sent to rehab and then sent home on hospice. Just to give my sister a break, who had done all the heavy lifting with respect to my mom's care in the last years of her life, a truly heroic effort, I took a couple days off of work to go relieve her, care for my mom for a few days. I knew this would likely be the last time I would ever see her, though she did not. She did not understand she would not be getting better. She did not understand that she was on hospice. I, of course, had my hopes and expectations of how I wanted that time to be. I wanted to be so fully present and conscious, aware of this gravity, of this threshold that we were crossing together. I'm sure it will surprise no one here to realize that life doesn't always give you what you want. When she returned home from the rehab, she was so thoroughly confused. On one hand, she knew it was her house, but she would ask questions like, was my bedroom always here? Was there always a window on that wall? Was my TV always in the corner? In the oddest way, I was having a parallel experience of disorientation. Is this really my mom? Is this really the last time I'm going to see her forever? I was present to her as a caregiver, as a chaplain of sorts, but not as her son exactly. I couldn't quite grasp the emotional gravity of where we were, and I was so busy trying to prepare the next meal, getting the next set of meds ready, getting the next treatment ready, answering the same question 3,000 times as patiently as I could. But I was present to her. In the spring of 2006, I took my mom to Spain for a week. What a time we had. One afternoon, we were in Cordoba. We were walking down the street back to the bus stop to catch the bus back to the hotel. It was a little chilly out. We were on the shady side of the street. So I said, Mom, why don't we cross the street and walk on the sunny side? And just like that, we both broke into spontaneous song. Grab your coat and get your hat. Leave your worry on the doorstep. Just direct your feet to the sunny side of the street. There we were, singing and dancing in the middle of the street, Cordoba, Spain. The last day I would see her, that Saturday before I was going to drive home, we were sitting at her breakfast table. I was trying to reminisce with her about some of the wonderful trips we had been on, particularly that trip to Spain. I reminded her of that day in the street. Once again, she sang the song and knew every word. Singing that song together one more time was another kind of ecotone, a bridge between our very disparate realities, which in the end are not so disparate after all. But still, the moment I had dreaded since I was 4 years old, and the nuns at Our Lady of Mount Carmel Catholic Church in Long Beach explained to us tykes that we're all going to die. Even my mom. Well, that day was here. And I wasn't there for it. Not in the way I wanted to be anyway. But we did have our song. That following August, after she died, Scott and I had our week in Provincetown. One afternoon, I was out on the beach, on my beach chair, huddled under my umbrella, tucked next to a sand dune in the pouring rain. Like my mom, I always loved the rain. I was watching the tide come in, waiting for it to get deep enough to go swimming in the marsh in the rain. That afternoon, I was the only one out on the beach in Herring Cove. Earlier that morning, my brother Steve had sent my sister and me an email. He'd come across a poem my mom had written. My mom had always written poetry ever since she was a lovesick teenager working the box office at the old Egyptian Theater in downtown Long Beach. Alone in the box office and in life, it would seem. She called this poem Ageless, and based on the tone of it, I would say she wrote it before Glenn came into her life, so maybe she was in her late 50s, early 60s perhaps, roughly my age at the time. And she was reflecting on the soothing feelings she felt whenever it rained. Feelings that were just as vivid now as they had been when she was a very young girl, leading her to conclude that we are ageless in a way. At least in the way that maybe we interpret life, the way that it gets in and works us over. Over the last few years of her life, it was more and more difficult to ever connect with that ageless part of her now that she's been gone 7 years. Sometimes it's hard to know which version of my mom I'm remembering or grieving. Which is the authentic one? Which is the true one? There I was sitting next to that sand dune, staring at my phone, reading and rereading that poem and trying to connect to that ageless part of her, and I just couldn't. But my friend Rosa reminded me, Michael, a womb is an ageless place too. An ecotone, in fact, that is neither life nor death, and it's wet. What better place could there be for you to contemplate your mom than in this earthly womb of this sand dune? And it was wet. That experience of the ecotone can be, I think, akin to what a patient of mine once called a God moment. A moment in which not much really happens, but the stuff and business of life just falls away, leaving room and space for awareness that this moment is all that there is. And it's enough. Just room for love. A moment like floating effortlessly on the incoming tide over the marsh in Provincetown, or a moment like sharing a beautiful sunrise with Vishak in Kerala, India, or a moment like singing a song one last time with my mom. Ageless perhaps, yes, after all, with gold dust at my feet on the sunny side of the street. So be it. Thank you.
Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing hymn 86, Blessed Spirit of My Life, from our gray hymnal. John will play it through once first. Blessed Spirit of my life, give me strength through stress and strife. Help me live with dignity. Let me know serenity. Fill me with a vision. Clear my mind of fear and confusion. When my thoughts flow restlessly, let peace find a home in me. Spirit of great mystery, hear the still small voice in me. Help me live my wordless creed as I comfort those in need. Fill me with compassion, be the source of my intuition. Then when life is done for me, let love be my legacy. Please be seated.
Sunday offering is an expression of the generosity that makes our congregational life possible. As Buddhist teacher Pema Chodron writes, generosity is an activity that loosens us up by offering whatever we can, a dollar, a flower, a word of encouragement. We are training in letting go. We encourage you to text your donation to Chalice. If you haven't texted a donation before, once you text the amount, you'll get a reply with a link to enter your card information. If your Sunday donation is meant to be a part of your pledge payment, please be sure to indicate pledge after the dollar amount. The phone number for text donations will be on the screen in a moment. If you prefer to make an in-person donation of cash or check, there are envelopes and a donation box to the left of the chapel double doors. You can leave those donations after the service. Please join in affirming the spirit of generosity that guides our communal life. At Chalice UU congregation, our mission is to inspire individual and communal spiritual growth. Please give generously.
You're welcome to sing along if you'd like. Grab your coat, get your hat, leave your worry at the doorstep. Just direct your feet to the sunny side of the street. Can't you hear that pitter-pat? And that happy tune is your step. Life can become so sweet on the sunny side of the street. I used to walk in the shade with those blues on parade, but I'm not afraid. This rover crossed over. If I never had a cent, I'd be rich as Rockefeller. Gold dust at my feet on the sunny side of the street. John. I used to walk in the shade with those blues on parade, but I'm not afraid. This rover crossed over. If I never had a cent, I'd be rich as Rockefeller. Gold dust at my feet on the sunny side of the street, on the sunny side of the street.
Thank you for that. Beautiful. Invite us to close our eyes and breathe maybe in the spirit of prayer. And come back to that image of the love that resides in that mysterious place between holding on and letting go, a place we might at times call bittersweet. May we breathe into a place beneath our need to characterize it as one thing or another, a place in which we can simply surrender into the constant state of change, the endless, never-ending spiral of life. May we be open to that and recognize it when it's here. So be it.
Please rise in body or spirit and sing together hymn 108, My Life Flows On in Endless Song, from our gray hymnal. My life flows on in endless song, a lover's lamentation. I hear the real, though far off hymn, that hymns a new creation. Please be seated.
One last time, I invite you to close your eyes and take a few nice deep breaths. In our mind's eye, let's imagine us in a great circle, taking hands with one another. As we do, we feel the energy that passes between us and connects us in the family of things. And we consider again the image of the ecotone, the place between two worlds, a timeless place. May we keep our eyes and hearts open for those mystical places within us. May we float effortlessly in those places and discover the love that is there for us. Ageless love. And may we give it away freely. So be it.
You are invited to close our time together singing The Well. After our closing hymn, please return to your seats for an announcement. Several announcements.
We drink from the well together, cool, cool water that quenches my thirst, a thirst for justice, thirst for joy, thirst for a love that we're all a part of. We drink from the well. We drink from the well together. Hand in hand we are standing as one, standing for justice, standing for joy, stand for a love that we're all a part of. We drink from the well. Open the doors to the world outside, spirits renewed from within. Look for the dream in each other's eyes, the spark where a new world begins. As we drink from the well together, heart to heart we are dancing as one, dancing for justice, dancing for joy, dance for a love that we're all a part of. We drink from the well, spirits renewed. We drink from the well, stand hand in hand. We drink from the well, dancing for joy. I feel my heart swell. We drink from the well.
Hello, everyone. This is the last Sunday to have your picture taken with your heart hands by our beautiful wishing well in the garden for inclusion in our special video to be shared next Sunday, Celebration Sunday. I, Andrew Swingle, will be your volunteer photographer and will be by the well after the service to take your picture. I might be in the courtyard too, so you can come find me. For online congregants, we invite you to take a selfie with heart hands and send it to us to include in the video. Thanks to everyone for helping us celebrate our Pledge Drive theme, We're Renewing the Well of Love, and for your participation in our loving community.
And again, wasn't Susan wonderful with Calypso this morning? Oh my goodness, that was so wonderful. You can hear that and many more at next Saturday. Just come to the chapel. We're going to have a John Denver sing-along, a lot of your favorite songs. Don't worry, just come at 2 o'clock. We're going to have songs. Tom's going to help us by singing and leading some singing. We're going to do some John Denver songs, facts about John Denver, and it's just going to be a real casual time. Come, it's an auction event. It's $20 per person. Just come at 2 and we'll figure it out. So there's going to be snacks and refreshments, so it'll be a grand time at the chapel, Saturday the 26th, 2 o'clock. Thank you. 25th. So come on the 26th too. Maybe we'll be here doing that.
Our social hour will begin in a few minutes online at this same Zoom link and in person on our courtyard. Those of you here in person might want to bring your refreshments into the green room and have a visit with our online congregants. Michael and I look forward to greeting you at the chapel doors to hear how the service was meaningful to you. Michael also has CDs available for purchase on the patio after the service. Go in peace.